When it comes to the state of Disney Star Wars, there are some people out there that sell copium to you. They try to pretend like, oh no, everything is perfectly fine, it's great, you're just a hater if you don't love all the garbage they're trying to shove down your throats. You can't possibly think that it's been a failure. You can't possibly think that they've dropped hundreds and hundreds of millions into these projects that have desecrated the brand. There's also people out there that are described as haters. Now, I prefer to think of myself as a realist, but some would describe me as a hater because, quite frankly, virtually everything that Disney's done to the franchise since they bought it from George Lucas, I've thought is a massive downgrade and a betrayal and a travesty. There are also people out there that instead of selling you copium about, oh no, everything's fine, they try to sell you hopium. About how, oh, well, everything could be fixed if this happens. Everything could be fixed if Kathleen Kennedy was gone. Everything could be fixed if they just put Dave Filoni in charge. Or George Lucas is secretly either working on Star Wars projects or coming back to save Star Wars. We've seen a lot of that over the years, and quite frankly, some people want to desperately believe in that idea that George Lucas at 81 years old would come back and save Star Wars from Disney. But the truth is that wasn't going to happen and is never going to happen. And now, once again, George Lucas is out there talking about Star Wars, reluctantly it may seem, to confirm, once again, like he's said for a decade, that he's done. He's sold it. He's moved past it. George Lucas on whether he's moved past Star Wars. Disney took it over and they gave it their vision. That's what happens. Of course, I've moved past it. And certainly George got a lot of money for that, got a lot of stock options for Disney for that, and all those things. But this is coming from a big article in the Wall Street Journal about the big museum that he's been working on for a while now. And one of the things that came out of this article, was George once again reiterating about what's happened to Star Wars and telling everyone, even if you are huffing on that hopium, that he's not fucking coming back. But let's get into this. Star Wars creator George Lucas says he's moved past the franchise after seeing Disney's vision for it. It's been 13 years since George Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney for $4.05 billion. While Star Wars fans have been waiting patiently for the legendary filmmaker to step back behind the camera, Lucas has been busy working on opening a museum. The project has reportedly cost the 81-year-old at least $1 billion to put together, and the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art is now on track to open in Los Angeles. As the name suggests, it will showcase narrative art, but to the disappointment of some, it isn't a movie museum or even a journey through Lucas's storied career. In fact, while speaking to the Wall Street Journal, he explained why he's eager for it not to become known as the Star Wars Museum. It's one gallery out of 33, and I did it grudgingly. I didn't want people to come to the museum and say, "Where's the Star Wars?" It will house an N1 starfighter, which is pretty cool, from 1999 Star Wars The Phantom Menace, but only one exhibit will be devoted to a galaxy far, far away, and more specifically, its vehicle designs. After addressing the current state of the franchise and how he now views the world he created, Lucas said, Disney took it over and they gave it their vision. That's what happens. Of course I've moved past it. I mean, I've got a life. I'm building a museum. A museum is harder than making movies. And I think that because so many fans are so passionate about the world that George Lucas created, I feel like people want to believe that their anger, their feelings at the current state of this franchise and something that they dedicated so many parts of their lives to and loving so much, and whether it's reading so many books like myself or just simply people that enjoy the movies, they want to believe that George has that same level of passion. Now, although I think he was hurt, it was clear that he was hurt when they didn't take some of his story treatments and his ideas for the sequels, and we all know about his comment about the white slavers from a decade ago at this point. I think that it's hard for some people to accept that maybe George truly doesn't care as much as some of the fans do about what happened to Star Wars after he sold it, got all that money, and kind of wiped his hands with it. And that might be a tough thing for some people to come to terms with it, but the more and more we hear him talk about it over and over again, even though he doesn't like the direction of the franchise, even though he's not happy with what they decided to do, I do think he's like, well, you know, I sold it. It's theirs to do with. That's their thing. I've moved on. I've moved past it. And that seems to be, again, where he's at. While he has visited the odd set since Disney took charge of Star Wars, he's mostly kept his opinions to himself and, as he suggests, moved on with his life. When the deal was struck, the plan was to use Lucas's outlines, only for the House of Mouse to decide later to start from scratch. That resulted in divisive movies like The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, and last year, Lucas seemed to indicate that Disney had got the trilogy wrong. Now, we remember that. This is from a year and a half ago almost at this point when he was at the Cannes Film Festival. And when George says that the ideas in the original sort of got lost in the Disney Star Wars era. And here's a quote from that. "I was the one who really knew what Star Wars was, who actually knew this world because there's a lot to it. The Force, for example, nobody understood the Force. When they started other ones after I sold the company, a lot of ideas that were in the original sort of got lost, but that's the way it is. You give it up, you give it up." Now, keep in mind, he did not say that, only I and Dave Filoni knew what it was. He said only me. So for all these people that are like, Dave knows exactly what George is thinking, Dave knows exactly the same things that George thinks, just stop with that shit. And the sets that he's visited, people are like, well, he was on the set of The Mandalorian. He was also on the set of Solo, a Star Wars story. When people invite him to go, especially people he knows, like Ron Howard or John and Dave, he will go and visit, right? People take that as some admission of, well, that means that that's part of his vision too. The truth is, as it's been for a while, George is not coming back. I don't think he has any desire to come back. I think he's moved past it, and he's 81 years old. He's doing this museum, which he seems pretty passionate about doing, and I think he's happy doing that. He's happy spending time with his family, and that's it. But there are people who, despite the repeated, the repeated instances of George saying that he's moved past it, he's done with it, it's not his anymore, and that just is the way that it is, there are still people that will try to sell you that hopium, that will try to get your hopes up, that will try to convince you that George Lucas, remember the stories, remember the reports of George Lucas secretly working on Rise of Skywalker that were just complete and utter fabricated bullshit, right? That's the same type of hopium that people are still insisting on giving to people. And the reason that it works, quite frankly, the reason that hopium works is because the state of Disney Star Wars is miserable. The state of Disney Star Wars is terrible. Yes, you have a handful of people that go out there and shill every opportunity they can and pretend like everything's amazing. And if you don't like it, you're just in a small minority of haters. The truth is the majority of people are very disappointed. Whether you're a hardcore fan or just a normie, the vast majority of people are very disappointed in what has happened to Star Wars in the Disney era. There's really no way around that. That's the reality. And that is why so many people are willing to desperately cling to that hope that George Lucas might come back, even though it's not going to happen. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.